For the last couple of months, I have been settling into my job at Google in my new apartment in Orlando. 6 months later now, I finally feel settled in and I'm ready to start making art again. I shared a small watercolor study in my last video in my art studio makeover. But the one thing we didn't tackle in that video was the room's empty white walls. I don't know about you, but to me, white walls can be super intimidating. And I was so indecisive about what I should do or what I should display on them, wondering what artwork I wanted to buy or what art style I wanted to go for. And then it hit me. I was like, Ricardo, you have a bunch of artwork you've made that is rotting away in your countless hard drives. Why wouldn't you use your own art? So I decided that for this video, I would dig up my hard drives, excavate some of the past work I'm most proud of, frame it, and hang it on my studio walls. It was very curious that I didn't immediately think about my own artwork, and I couldn't help but wonder why. As artists, we are oftentimes okay with stashing away our work instead of displaying it. I guess sometimes we feel like it's pointless since there's no audience to enjoy them, or we find ourselves so far removed from the work because our day job is so unrelated, we don't feel like that person anymore. Or maybe we hide this work because it reminds us of our dreams and aspirations, a potential path we left behind, and we feel disappointed we did not pursue it. I know I sometimes do, especially with my architecture work from school. It saddens me to think that I am no longer honing that side of my craft, and that I could potentially forget many of the skills I once learned to make them. I kept thinking, why did I stop making art? Why did I give up on this dream? Well, the answer is, in my case, I put that dream on pause to pursue another dream, working at Google. But I've been questioning lately whether I need to give up one dream at all. Why can't I pursue both? To be honest, there are many reasons why people give up on specific dreams and prioritize others. Life is complex and unpredictable. Sometimes it's because we lack the self-confidence to see one of them through, or because certain life events dissuade us from pursuing them. Whatever the reason, it is usually more common than not for people to store away their dreams until the right time comes to bring them out again. The problem is that the quote-unquote right time might never come, and your dream may never see the light of day again. Without personifying art too much, I believe that our dreams are, to some extent, stored in our past work, providing glimpses into our past selves' wants and desires. In this sense, I like to think of our pieces as mementos from a time past, or portals into imaginary worlds we once conjured up into tangible objects. There's definitely something cozy and warm about being surrounded by your past work, like a warm embrace from a very old friend. The truth is that while our dreams remain stored with our works, the light they carry never extinguishes. We are so connected to our dreams that they find a way to creep into our daily lives, almost like calls or glimpses into new things we could be creating. The thought of them follows us, and the picture of alternative lifestyles and unrealized projects never disappears. And sometimes, when we least expect it, they find their way out of the corners of our minds and into our everyday lives, reminding us that they're still very much alive and eager to escape. To me, these unexpected glimpses and visions are what we call inspiration. We are ready for our trip to Staples Pixel. Say hi. Hey, that's a good girl. Inspiration can come from many sources, and I definitely felt inspired as I made my way to Staples to pick up my art prints for the walls. The thought of seeing my work printed in large format in a tangible object to hold in my arms outside of the virtual display of my computer monitor filled me with anticipation and excitement. The feeling reminded me of the final crit days at school when, in the middle of the last minute adrenaline rush, you get that feeling of amazement and satisfaction as you start to see everything come together while you pin up. Inspiration can be a new idea or a sense of motivation to pursue a project. However, answering inspiration's call is up to us, and we can decide whether to acknowledge it or ignore it. Sadly, most often than not, inspiration's call goes unanswered by many people. However, when we acknowledge inspiration, it manifests itself through us into some artifact, whether it's a poem, an illustration, an algorithm, or a painting. The output can vary, but an artifact is usually left behind as evidence that someone answered inspiration's calling and that that person was paying attention at the right time. I believe these artifacts tell the story of who we are, just like the artifacts left behind by ancient civilizations, which preserve and tell the story of their cultures and people. They are glimpses into who we are, what we love, and who we want to be. I couldn't help but think about this while sorting through my past work and deciding what I wanted to hang on my art studio walls. I kept thinking about how much time and effort went into making these pieces, and while some of them do come with baggage, a part of me felt sad to realize how much of our past work gets stored away, doomed to live in a hard drive for eternity, with no one to see it, with no one to enjoy it. The truth is, I love these pieces, and I'm incredibly proud of them, so the last thing I want to do is have them live in a hard drive or in some sort of storage forever, not seeing the light of day. Some of them are the most complex work I've ever made, and if I'm honest, I really miss making art like the pieces I chose to display on my walls. I mentioned earlier that our art artifacts are like portals into our souls, since they hint at our deepest passions and dreams, and it occurred to me while I was framing my work that they are essentially gateways into our imagination. There is something so beautiful about the idea that everyone has access to imaginary worlds that live within their minds, unique to each of us. One day, inspiration comes and we choose whether or not to acknowledge its call and bring forth a piece of our imagination into the world and share it with others. How lucky are we when an artist honors inspiration and creates art, giving us a glimpse into worlds and places we will never see ourselves, and equally unfortunate when they decide not to. There were many reasons why I had to pivot away from making art, which is a conversation for another video. But in the last couple of months, I realized that I did not want to stop making art just because it was not my day job. That is why I started this channel, to create a space where I can make and share my art and revisit the ideas left behind in the artifacts of my past work. The truth is that it's hard for me to make room for my art when inspiration strikes, especially since I'm equally passionate about the work I do at Google. So finding time to devote to my art practice becomes challenging. On the one hand, framing my past work brought the same dichotomy of both joy and sadness. It's joyous because the artwork exists, I pushed myself to make it, and I now have an artifact to remind me of the worlds I fantasized about back in those days. At the same time, it saddened me to realize that I could never revisit those worlds again. I remember in architecture school, many people would aim to finish or redo their work in the summer to polish it up for their portfolios, but at a certain point, I think it becomes almost impossible to recapture the essence of the work once you've moved on. I believe our daily life heavily influences our art, and it's virtually impossible to recreate the exact conditions and mindsets we were in when revisiting the work later. On the other hand, framing my past work and surrounding myself with it has inspired me to restart this passion at my own pace without rushing or without pressure. I hope this video can inspire and motivate you to frame and display your art if you haven't yet, and carve out a time to pursue that hobby or passion you left behind. The truth is, sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves, becoming the main obstacle between our dreams and reality. Let's change that. Let's give our art the space it deserves to thrive and exist, so that others can benefit from all the wonderful creative gifts we have yet to bring to the world. If anything, having a day job takes the financial pressure away from our art needing to make us money. Maybe one day your art will be able to provide enough income and become your main focus. But until then, let us enjoy the freedom that we get to make art for the sake of it, and not because we have to. With that said, I am wishing you an inspiration-filled life, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.